We're live now.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Do It Live. This show is brought to you not from the West End, but in this case from an undisclosed location. My name is Bill Woodcock.
And I'm James Howard, and I am not coming to you from the West Side either, and I'm not a West Side girl.
Oh, the East End boys and the West End girls.
West End girls. I blew the line. This is why we need to start having editing. We can't do this stuff live anymore.
Why not?
I don't know. I say these things.
But we can't call it Do It Edited.
Why not?
Anyway, well, I'm just happy there's no technical difficulties, nor are you in front of a set of stairs.
Oh, yeah. Well, this isn't the BBC.
We out BBC'd the BBC. You saw it here first.
And that's the thing that keeps happening to us. We do something and then major media does it.
Lamestream media stealing our good ideas.
I know, I'm telling you, it's rough out here. You know,
but an idea, but a good idea which has been stolen and bastardized by our current administration is the Affordable Care Act. And so to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare, we now have the Affordable Health Care Act, which is now called Trump Care.
I thought it was the world's greatest health care plan of 2017.
Actually, I believe I heard the president call it really good health care. So I believe the bill was delivered to Congress. You remember like 20, 30 years ago, the generic food, like they had generic beer, which were in plain white cans, and it just had beer printed in black on the side. I believe this was just healthcare bill. And it was, the book was a white cover, black print on the cover, healthcare bill. And that's it. It's generic healthcare. It's also amazingly bad healthcare.
Yes.
So, first I want to ask you, because you are an expert on such things, and I understand that you have read through the American Health Care Act, fairly completely. Is there any truth to what I understand is being posited by certain Republican congresspeople in Arizona and Kentucky that the purge from the movie series of the same name, The Purge, is an actual part of the American Health Care Act?
I do not think The Purge is part of the whatever gave you that idea?
What idea? That it was part of the plan, or that you are an expert in it?
That it was part of the plan. We all know I'm an expert on The Purge. I think
yes,
that is well established.
It has. There are Congress people in Arizona and Kentucky who claim that the purge would be a result of the American Health Care Act. It would be implemented.
Is this good or bad? I don't know.
Real life death panels.
I think we need to not address the question of whether or not it is included, because that's just that's not what's important. I think we should just discuss whether or not it should be included.
Well, for certain people, possible.
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, Arizona is kind of, it's. I will say this. One day I said that you just expect certain things from the state of Arizona, and that's high on the list.
That is true. Jamie, is there anything good about the American Health Care Act at all?
Well, my favorite part of it is the fact that over half of the bill is spent trying to figure out ways to take health care from people who win the lottery. And I really don't understand why this is important, or if that's such a huge problem. We have lottery winners running around getting free health care that they're such a drain on society. But, I suppose that's probably who am I kidding? There's nothing good in this thing.
It is hard pressed to find something. And once again, with this administration, you find where there could actually be a conservative-based way to do this right. And instead, that possible conservative-based way to do this right is just balled up and thrown in the trash and replaced with something that is simultaneously um, totalitarian and anarchistic.
No,
So
no, I reject calling it anarchistic or totalitarian. That implies there's any sort of philosophy underlying this. The thing about this is that there is a good, solid Republican approach, a conservative Republican approach that could be used for healthcare. And it was the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act is a straight ripoff of what Mitt Romney created in Massachusetts. I think that to say, and where it was a huge success before, and will continue to be a success no matter what the current administration and Congress put through. The plan that we have now is a Republican dream. That's why they can't find anything better.
why do you say that?
Why do I say that? It's
Well,
market.
the plan we have now, you're not talking about the current legislation. You're talking about Obamacare is the best.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. It is the Republican desire and dream writ large. It's a market-based solution. It punishes poor people. It's fantastic. They love it. The problem is the wrong side did it, therefore they can't tolerate it. And this has absolutely nothing to do with policy, nothing to do with governance, everything to do with screwing the other guy.
Well, I'm going to contrast you a little bit on this one because I actually think there is a philosophy about this. And the philosophy that's behind Trump Care is class warfare. So what we're talking about is taking health care away from 24 million people who currently have it, rolling back Medicaid. They're in accordance with the Trump budget plan. I shiver to even call it the Republican budget plan, although since they're going to continue to own them, I don't know why I shouldn't continue to call it that. But with what's going on there, this is another way to ensure that poor people get poorer. Forgetting about the 24 million who would lose coverage, there are going to be many millions more, and I tried to research it today, I haven't seen numbers on this, but there are going to be many millions more who are going to be underinsured. And so they're going to fall out of the system, or they're going to be relying upon urgent care or emergency room care or free care and impact the system even worse than they did before. The pre-existing conditions are still in there. That's nice. But if you wind up opting out of the system altogether, then you're screwed. So this is actually the worst possible way to administer a universal access to healthcare solution. And when you take this in concert with the budget cuts, which provide incredible cuts to aid to rural communities, a lot of those counties that voted for Trump are not going to get important social services funded anymore, either through their states or to the communities directly. Those sick people who have a disease that needs treatment are going to need to get care from somewhere, and they're not going to be able to get it from the federal government. They're not going to be able to get it from their state government. They're not going to be able to get it from their local government. They're just going to die. So it may as well be the purge, except, without the axes and cheese graters and power drills and such.
I only saw the first Purge movie. Were there cheese graters involved?
No, but they were in Extreme Championship Wrestling back in the 90s, and sometimes I get the two confused.
At this point, should we plug my radio spot I did about the Purge last summer?
I don't know if we should, but we could.
I definitely think we need to talk about the Purge more. But the other concern I'm stuck with is that this doesn't make sense. I mean, I keep talking about it as the Republicans are trying the unique political strategy of killing their own voters. I'm not sure why this makes any sense. I mean, if you kill your own voters, they stop voting for you. If you kill the people who buy your product, they stop buying your product. If the people who buy your product are too poor to buy your product, they don't buy your product. So I don't understand. I mean, it's positively medieval.
Well, there is no buying the product if all you have to do is vote. And there is no buying the product if you believe that through force of personality and will, you can continue to convince millions upon millions of people that the jellied bug protein that they're really eating is actually steak. That was from a movie called Snowpiercer, which I would recommend that you watch highly.
I haven't seen Snowpiercer, but I could definitely go with Idiocracy at this point, which is pretty much the same thing.
But I think that's what we're facing, and I believe that what this administration's goal is to create a permanent underclass of well over 100 million people, between the folks in the urban areas who will never support anything this crowd does, and a lot of the people in rural areas who voted for them who do have some skills, who do work in some industries, and to create a working class for a permanent undereducated, underemployed working class. For what purpose, I have no idea.
And that's,
but again, it gets back to class warfare.
And that's where I keep getting frustrated with these conspiracy theories. It's like, I don't understand what the point is. I mean, it's like, I don't see what the motivation is, why they're doing it, why anyone thinks it's good. And you sit down and say they're doing it for reasons A, B, and C. Well, then maybe you got something here. But every time I hear these stories come up, it's just, why would you do that? And there's this whole Mitchell and Webb show, actually, where they parodied this, where they were doing the whole government conspiracy to cover up the UFOs landing. And somebody asks, why are we doing this again? And the response is, it's just sort of the thing governments do. It's like there's no justification. There's no reason for doing this. There's no. It's like a bad Bond villain. And when you paint the motivations of people like Ryan, or Trump, or McConnell, or whoever like this, you just make them out to be bad Bond villains. And even I mean, these guys aren't flat earthers. I mean, shit. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe they are some of them. It's hard to tell Trump. Guy's crazy, but but otherwise,
I don't trust anything coming out of the West Wing of the White House. And
Placer's probably a flat earther. I'll give you that.
And I'm not sure how much it's Trump as it is Priebus and Mad Dog 2020, Banana Red drinking Steve Bannon and the rest of them.
But why? Why?
What's their goal?
Yes.
I think that's to be determined. If the goal is, I mean, what have administrations come to, what have they always championed for our lifetimes and for decades before? The improvement of the American condition, American preeminence in the world, aspirational, big picture things, but yet things that will also come down from on high to benefit the lives of the average American. This is not what the founding principle of this campaign and now this administration had ever been. The raison d'etre of Trump, of his candidacy, and so far as his administration, has been America is broken. We got away from what we believe in because we elected that guy and put him in there for 8 years. And so we are going to restore the American way of life. Not dream, not spirit, way of life. He didn't take 2 minutes into his inauguration speech to use the words American Carnage, which is probably a failed title of a Green Day album, but American Carnage? Really? To stand up on the National Mall, looking westward at the entire nation and proclaim that the era of American carnage is over? I mean, you and I don't see that carnage. There are millions.
Well, that's not true. I do see that carnage quite frequently, but that's usually
Where do you see that carnage? Where is that carnage? Tell me about this carnage.
St. Louis.
And
the streets of
what
Florida.
does that carnage look like?
Usually cops killing people.
Well, that's not the carnage he was talking about.
Carnage I'm talking about.
Well, see, that's two different types of carnage. And he would say that your carnage is but compared to his carnage.
I don't understand what this carnage is we're talking about here. I don't see the streets exactly running with blood.
America's not great. America was a laughingstock and a joke and a big prank, and millions upon millions of people are angry about it. And we're not going to have this anymore. We're a country of law and order.
What does law and order have to do with greatness?
Well, if you have no law and order, you have no greatness.
I'm great. I'm always great. I'm the greatest person I know.
But do you have law and order?
Go either way.
1 out of 2 ain't bad, is what you're trying to tell me.
I'm very ordered.
See, I was going to go with the law part. Oh, so I don't know, Jamie. There's some bigger purpose behind all of this, and I don't know what this is.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
So, as part of the loyal opposition, resistance, rogue element, whatever you have, we have.
Rogue element sounds like a failed Green Day album title too.
That actually was a failed band name of mine, Rogue Element.
Oh, that's terrible.
So anyway, the worst thing that people on the left can do is shoot themselves in the foot.
Oh, they will anyway.
And what's that?
They will anyway.
Well, that may be true, but why are you so sure about that? What's Trump's bigger plan? Stop projecting into the future. Live in the now. Live in the now. See, that's me. So Rachel Maddow the other night had on a show where she had Trump's tax return. And it would turn out being his 2005 tax return, the 2 top summary pages of it that, was the bottom line of his tax return. I don't mind so much that she had that. That was cool, and it showed what he made. It showed what he paid in taxes. It showed that he had another huge write-off, as he had, and I believe it was the 1996 return that had been divulged during the campaign, at least the summary pages of that. So this was 2005. And so that was interesting. But was it an hour's worth of news? I'm not sure that it was. And a little bit disturbing to me was the way that the show ran as it led up to this divulgence of the tax form that, well, how much money did Trump take in a write-off because he may have sold this property to this Russian oligarch, and then showed the picture of some Russian billionaire who Trump sold some property in Florida to in that time frame. But the tax return had no information on sale of property. Of course, it had the rolled up summary of how much property he had sold during that year, but it didn't have that. There was, again, this is like the top 2 pages of your 1040 form before you put all your schedules on it for deductions and capital gains and everything, and profit and or loss from business activities and all of that stuff. It had no detail. And I believe that for her to have put it up that way, as what does his tax return show, she knew pretty bloody well what it showed, and it didn't show anything. It showed that he made a lot of money, he paid a lot of money, he wrote off a lot of money, and that was that. am I right in this, or was this a whole lot of nothing to see here?
No, there's a whole lot of nothing to see here. Although I will say that I've got a title for any historian who wants to write the book on this time period. We can call it "Writing Off America," but that's another story entirely.
Ooh, put that one in the time capsule.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Will it be written in Mandarin?
Almost certainly. So, yeah. That
Or Arabic? Or Russian?
probably German. So,
After this week, not shaking Merkel's hand, yeah, I think so.
yeah, but I will say this:
If they had missiles, we'd be glowing right now.
yeah, that's
another matter.
That's it. But I will say, I have thought from the very beginning that this call for Trump's tax returns was. I made it very clear I'm no fan of Trump. But the thing is, the continual push for his tax returns is irrelevant. It's meaningless. I think there are some people who fetishized it to the point that it's nothing more than voyeurism. I mean,
they want to see Trump's tax return bound in black leather.
Well, I don't know. I've never had mine bound. If I were to have mine done, would I do them in black leather? Probably not. I probably use the grommet approach, but that's just, or even a 3-ring binder. Because Mitt Romney's got binders full of tax returns. But
it's true.
It's
true. Full of women.
But I think that there's, and that's just, if you look at the top 2 summary pages, you can't get a lot of detail out of it. And most people don't understand that because most people don't actually have more than 2 pages in their tax return. The overwhelming majority of people at this point are filing the 1040 Easy, which is like 1 page.
Right.
Or the middle ground one, which I forget what it's called now, the new one that's only 2 pages. I mean, if your tax returns are complicated enough that they warrant more than that, you'll actually understand that, 1, you can't make any sense out of those top 2 summary pages, and 2, well, the rest of everything he's doing is pretty much kosher. I mean, the thing is, if he's following the rules, which I presume he is, although that's because he hasn't actually been called out yet for not, except in a few cases where he has, and that was mostly in other areas. It's like, yeah, you have to assume. I mean, and in fact, New Jersey's now putting together a bill which is, you can't get on the ballot unless you produce your tax returns. And that's never going to, that's going to get challenged in court. And it's going to fall over immediately because the states can't add unnecessary restrictions to the qualifications process. But you're stuck wondering, why have people fetishized this to the point that it's become such a thing? I don't get it. It's not even particularly traditional. It started only in 1968. I don't understand, but that's just it, because it has been so heavily fetishized, and there's really no other word for it. And bound in black leather, as you put it ever so eloquently, Rachel Maddow, who I think is as guilty of this as everyone else, had no other way to spin it other than to say, we got the tax returns. And then, anybody who actually understands how taxes work will say this, I can't make heads or tails of this.
Well, that I am finding myself this evening to the left of you is amazing. So because this is normally not what happens. So I actually do think that his tax returns are a big deal, because I think it's important to show his business dealings and his business relations. I don't think we need to see them to prove that he's a liar. I think we've got plenty of evidence to know that Trump's a damn liar. But I do believe that we should have an understanding of his business dealings and his influences around the world.
Well, if he's done everything right, he won't make that out of his taxes anyway.
What's that?
If he's done everything the way he should, he won't make that out of the taxes anyway. That's going to mean the taxes for the various companies and holding companies. It'll be so buried in minutia you'll never find it, even if it is rolled up.
Well, he probably has not done that I think I see your point. I mean, yes, he could create all sorts of shell companies and entities within entities that would wind up burying things under multiple layers that who knows how you would ever get to it. Not to even state, that he probably has some sort of offshore accounts and holdings in various countries that don't have tax reporting requirements, and that certainly would be out of the reach of the IRS. But I would also think that if he had that, he would be showing his U.S. tax returns. I'm not a huge believer in the emoluments clause. Of course, that was brought up very early on in his administration, and if he's getting benefit from foreign entities and he can't serve as president, that clause in the Constitution was written for another time. But
it was also designed to protect against a foreign entity making the president of the United States a vassal. I mean, that's the whole point of that. That was not about routine business.
But I think that spirit, and so you just hit upon my point. I'm very much concerned. 99.9% of Americans don't understand, and I could probably take that 9 out several places, don't understand that we routinely borrow money from the Chinese to pay to buy oil from Saudi Arabia. We continue to be in debt to nations that are not too terribly friendly to us. I would like to know if our president has similar business relationships with people and nations, more importantly, who are unfriendly to us. I think that's important. We've never had a president who is an industrialist. We have never had a president with global holdings. I think that's important. Would I say the same if Mark Cuban or Howard Schwartz was the president? Absolutely. How many Starbucks you got in Russia, Howard? How much is that a big deal to you? Mark, how much Yahoo is in Russia and China? How much is that a big deal to you? I think we need to know. I think we're in a different age now, and we're in a very connected international age, and I think we need to know those influences.
Interesting. I completely disagree, but I think that's fine. Although I'm stuck with another question. What if he just has what if, let's say hypothetically, we have a president who has $10 billion worth of mutual fund holdings, and those mutual fund holdings are spread across the whole world?
I see your point, and I'm going to say that's valid. I think it should be for people to judge.
They did. They said they didn't care.
They did. You are correct. But, well, I don't really recall there being a referendum on it.
Sure.
You say no. I know what you're going to say. You're going to say that was the election. No, that wasn't the election.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
It renormed the entirety of American politics. Not much, but I mean, we were kind of already heading down this road anyway.
What road are we heading down?
The one where we'd elect people based on celebrity rather than policy insight. I mean, there's no way on earth we're ever going to elect somebody again. I mean, we have a time today where Americans have always been hostile to intellectuals, just always. This isn't new. And to sit here, as I do, an expert at least in some areas of policy, it's really difficult to sit here and go, it's okay. It's not even worth explaining this to people because they won't understand it anyway. And even if they did understand it, they'd tell me I'm wrong. This goes back to our elitism discussion, right? And we're never going to see that again. We've already been heading toward. I mean, look at Paul Ryan. I mean, Paul Ryan has a reputation as a policy wonk, and whatever policy did he create? I mean, show me how he developed that reputation, because I can't find it.
I don't know it either. You're very pessimistic tonight, Jamie. Why is that?
Lack of caffeine?
Well, I don't know if it's lack of caffeine. Maybe it's because you're clean shaven for once, which I applaud. But I will say um,
It
I
was like
think
out to here, and it was all itchy. It was driving me nuts. I had to deal with it this morning.
okay. So I agree with you about the era of the celebrity presidency, but I will reject the concept that this is somehow a renorming of American politics, as it is a case of the rubber band snapping back. That, in the Obama years, there was a stretching what the presidency could be, in terms of the aura and of the perception of the office. And this is not a critique, positive or negative, on accomplishments of that administration, but the aura of the presidency. And we as a nation were not intellectually mature enough to handle that. So what happened is that we snapped back.
I doubt any country is. Or that could just be me.
Is right. You mean to have dealt with the well, how do you mean that? You mean the circumstances?
No, to deal with the transformation of what the presidency could be. I mean, and I disagree with a fair number of the things that Obama did, but I think that to lead the nation in a, how do I say,
tens of millions of people were proud that Barack Obama was the president. I mean, having worked in a few places with majority African American populations in the offices, I don't recall ever seeing one cubicle, one office without pictures of Barack and his family. And many, many millions of people felt that way. I can remember how my elders thought about John Kennedy. And it was this mysticism. And this is how I believe a lot of people, especially people of minority backgrounds, felt about President Obama. And what we had, why do you have your mechanical pencil out? And what we had is like I said, it's a reaction. I don't consider it a renorming, I consider it a reaction.
It's a part of my policy of sometimes showing you weird things and making faces at you when the viewers can't see me. So,
first off, I don't like that you have a mechanical pencil, but otherwise.
Before I pull out my standard writing instrument.
That's awesome.
Does that make
me would actually? I do like that better.
Does that make me an elitist that I use a fountain pen?
No.
No.
I used to have disposable fountain pens.
This is a cheap one, only like $15.
Oh no! The ones I had were like $3 or $4. They were pretty awesome, actually.
Oh yeah, those Parker ones, the maroon ones. Yeah, they don't make.
Yeah.
But what can I say? Hey, we've already blown our time budget here. But you want to head into the last subject?
Well, we can do that. Is anybody still watching?
I don't think anybody was watching to begin with.
Are you serious?
I don't know. I haven't seen any numbers yet.
Oh. Well, how did you celebrate Pi Day, Jamie?
Pi Day was Wednesday?
It was actually Tuesday, which is indicating to me that you didn't even celebrate it.
Oh, it snowed on us. I didn't go to work.
It did snow on us, and it didn't go to work, and you didn't go to work. Well, that is, as somebody would say, lame. So if you get the chance to, and I know you're such a sports fan, you should you should go to the Google, and you should Google
the Rockies.
Yes, Colorado Rockies Pi Day. Tell the viewer what they did. I'll tell them. So, viewer, the Colorado Rockies on Pi Day, when they came out for their spring training game, they lined up in order so that their uniform numbers spelled out pi to the whatever place. So, like, some of the players had to change their numbers for the game, but they were 3, 1, 4, 5, 9, 6, 2, et cetera, so on down the line. It was pretty cool.
I should have checked it for correctness, but I didn't.
Well, now you have something to do.
Don't I have enough to do?
This will take 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that was I didn't. So that, but it was Pi Day was of course on Tuesday, which was the day of the horrible, terrifying.
That storm sucked, and I am very hateful towards everybody in Maryland for freaking out over this storm, which was going to be 12 to 18 inches, kill off the early spring, bring hell upon us, and destroy our property and our social structure, our social order. It did nothing. It was 3 inches of crap, and everybody should be embarrassed for how seriously you treated this. This storm sucked, and if you are all freaked out, if you went and got the bread, milk, and toilet paper from the store, you suck too.
I did not. I did, however.
I didn't mean you. I'm talking to you, viewerland.
I didn't even shovel the sidewalk. It didn't seem like it was worth the effort, and it just melted on its own after a day. I mean, it just wasn't that much. So,
did you have your corned beef and cabbage for St. Patrick's Day?
No,
Dr. Howard.
No, we are still working on that. Actually, so St. Patrick's Day. You are aware of the fact my middle name is Patrick, right?
I am.
Okay, good. I didn't know everybody knew that. I didn't know if you knew that. Everybody, whatever. But
I did know that.
But that's because my father was born on St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, excellent.
Yes, indeed. And so, yeah, we were going to do that, but we just haven't got around to. Nina got a thing to make corned beef. Like, we're actually going to make corned beef. We're going to corn the beef ourselves or something. I'm not really sure.
I don't know how you corn beef. How does beef get corned?
I don't know. We haven't done it yet. And we're now like 2 days late. I have no idea.
You can have corned beef on other occasions. Corned beef on rye sandwich. It's mighty tasty.
I love that. I love a good corned beef on rye. I just like corned beef. I love a good I can't think of what it's called right now. What's the sandwich with the corned beef and the sauerkraut?
Reuben.
Thank you.
Reubens are indeed awesome.
Yes, indeed. I'm going to get one now for lunch tomorrow.
I may get one yet tonight. No, I'm not.
No, I'm totally going to get one for lunch tomorrow.
I don't know anywhere. Oh, I don't know. Does the undisclosed location sell Reubens?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
This has been a good effort, Jamie Howard.
Indeed it is. At least the undisclosed location in my neighborhood does. I don't know about yours.
What's that?
Well, the undisclosed location in my neighborhood does. I don't know about yours.
Oh, no, my undisclosed location does not sell Reubens.
Oh, well, you should come hang out with me one day for lunch.
Not here. I mean, no. Do you mean living or working?
Working.
Oh, I do have to check that out. No, I don't have Reuben capability near me.
Oh man, you're missing the.
I will check it out because I do enjoy me a Reuben.
Let's call it a night on that.
All right, man. Well, thank you, Dr. Howard, and thank you for anyone out there in viewerland who's still with us 10 minutes after time.
Indeed. You have a beautiful night, everyone.
All right, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye-bye.